Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for everyone coming today. Just a reminder, today's meeting will be live streaming on the YouTube channel. I'd like to call the meeting to order. A motion there, Councillor Richardson, second by Councillor Warren. All in favor? Thank you. The adoption of the agenda. Councillor Warren, second by Councillor Joyce. All in favor? Thank you. Any declaration of community interest? Seeing none. And the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting. Councillor Richardson, second by Councillor Joyce. All in favor? Thank you. No deputations, and we'll get right into the report. The new business today, 4.1, is Jamie Anderson, the Chief Executive Officer of Kawartha Lakes Public Library budget presentation. Thank you, Jamie. And Carolyn Danes, I think, as you said, was on. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to speak to you today about the library, our accomplishments for 2025, as well as our budget request for 2026 and our priorities going forward. While I'm speaking to you by myself today, I do want to acknowledge Carolyn Danes, the City Treasurer, is also the Library Treasurer. Let's get right into this. So, I've got quite a few photographs for you today. So, this is our some of the new children's shelving in the Lindsay Library branch. This was installed late last year, and this was paid for out of library reserve funds. Quickly go over my agenda for today, do a little library overview, touch on our accomplishments for 2025, as well as our 2026 priorities. I'll do a bit of a deeper dive into programming, and then we'll quickly talk about Vault, which is the Valuing Ontario Libraries Toolkit, and then that'll lead us into the operating budget and budget pressures for 2026. All right. So we have 14 branches throughout the city. We are open to the public 350 hours a week. That equals about 18,200 hours of public open hours per year. We have 12 full-time staff, 36 part-time staff for an FTE of 29.5 employees. Last year, 2024, we welcomed over 195,000 visitors to our branches. That was an increase over 23 of 3.8%. During that same time period, we had over 530 virtual visitors to our website and library resources, online resources. This was a 7.7% increase in use of the website and our online resources over 2023. Overall, we had 730,000 interactions with library users last year, of which 72% of all interactions happened digitally. Kawartha Lakes Public Library is widely recognized by our users as a valuable and welcoming resource, a place for learning, connection, and access to essential services and city services. In a recent public survey of residents, they ranked the top 3 future priorities for the library as expanding programs and activities, expanding online services and resources, and increasing branch hours. This is our current organizational structure. With council's support, we added 3 new staff in 2024. These 3 staff have now all been online for about just over a year now. This has led to reduced staff burnout, improved promotion of library services and events, and increased attendance at our library programs. In the same recent public survey, staff support was the highest rated aspect of our in-person services and is widely seen as a core strength of our library. Reference transactions per capita at our library are 130% higher than our comparator systems, pointing to a strong staff engagement and continued community reliance on personalized support and connections. There's a photograph of a parent reading to her daughter at the Bob Cajun Library. Some of our 2025 accomplishments. We're in the process of developing our new 10-year growth management plan. This will be finished by the end of this year and presented to Council in early 2026. We're also in the process of refreshing our current 3-year strategic plan. That'll be finished by the end of this year as well, and that'll go live January 2026, covering the years 2026 through 2028. We are in the process of launching our new library website right now as we speak. We've seen continued growth in demand for and attendance at library events and programs. And we've seen continue to expand our very popular Library of Things. Some of the recent things we've added to the Library of Things are radon detectors, snowshoes, and literally just announced last week, community passes for the Royal Ontario Museum. Some of our 2026 priorities include the creation and development of the new Lindsay Branch Creativity Lab. This will occupy the former art gallery space when they move out. The Fenelon Falls Library Branch renovations. This will allow us to better utilize the old adult education side of the building in Fenelon Falls. And we're working to expand our in-person adult and seniors programming at library branches next year as well. Speaking of programming, here's a young man learning computer coding. This is a partnership program we offer with Ampere throughout our system. Library programming and events. Our programs are highly valued by the residents of Kawartha Lakes. Library events and classes, what we call programming, provides free and accessible learning and entertainment to everyone in our community. It is built around the wants and needs of residents, and it helps connect people to their communities. We continue to see growth in attendance at library events. We've gone from 23,000, just under 24,000 people attending library programs in 2019 to just over 54,000 people attending programs in 2024. We are on track for this year to probably to meet those numbers as well. Program, event, and class attendance is a major strength of the library, with attendance rates more than double those of our comparator systems. This underscores the library's role as a valued gathering space and community connector, and validates the 3 new staff positions Council approved for 2024. Here's another partnership program, this one being offered with Bird Friendly Kawarthas on how to make your backyard more bird friendly. Photograph from the entrance at the Bob Cajun Library. This is the tagline of the library: millions of opportunities, one exceptional library. And I feel we've demonstrated this with completing our Volt assessment in 2024, which puts a dollar figure on the community benefit a library provides. VOLT, which stands for Valuing Ontario Libraries Toolkit, was developed by the Ontario Library Service, which is part of the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming. The VOLT is designed to help Ontario public libraries measure and demonstrate their value and impact within the community. Public libraries are an important cultural and social infrastructure in our community. We are one of the few institutions that provide a broad array of critical supports to our communities, including education, culture, inclusion and accessibility, reconciliation, and civic engagement. Social return on investment, SROI, has been designed by economists and takes something that is offered at no charge, library services, events, classes, tools, and calculates a dollar value on them. Oops. Our VOLT assessment found that for every municipal dollar invested in the library, there was an SROI of $6.21, with a total value of community benefit of over $13 million generated by the library in 2023 alone. This works out to a community benefit of over $400 per household in the city. Our VOLT report demonstrated significant impact, with $2.2 million in calculated local economic development benefits from library operations in 2023. Digital and technological literacy programming supports workforce readiness in an increasing digital economy. while youth-focused initiatives align with economic development's strategic emphasis on youth retention and skills development. The library also partners regularly with local businesses on programs and partnerships that contribute to the visibility of participating businesses while building social cohesion. The library offers 66% more digital access points per cardholder than our peer systems. In a municipality with limited broadband and cell coverage, the library's role as a digital access hub is critical. Equally important is the library's social development role, serving vulnerable populations through low-barrier, stigma-free access to services and supports. These offerings position the library as a key contributor to priorities around mental health, housing, poverty, and youth engagement that are all outlined in the city's Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. This is a photograph from Fenelon Falls, the children's department there. Got a couple of photographs from our very popular Touch a Truck events this summer. On the left side of the screen is a snowplow, and on the right side is a garbage truck. We offer many programs in partnership with other city departments, including paramedics, fire, police, public works, waste, transit, and parks. In July and August of this year, we offered over 21 of these partnership programs, which were attended by over 800 children and adults. There's another photograph from one of our popular partnership programs. That's a tongue twister. From this summer, our Wheels on the Bus program. The library plays an integral role in supporting the City of Kawartha Lake's strategic priorities across community development, economic and social opportunity, rural service delivery, accessibility and inclusion, and cultural vibrancy. The library contributes to building connected and thriving communities, a central goal echoed by the city's planning documents. Now get into the budget itself. As with other presentations, the spreadsheet up on the screen are figures shown in thousands of dollars. Revenues for 2026 are expected to remain the same at $273,000. 2026 expenses, overall, we are looking at a 20% increase to our expenses budget, mostly falling into the salaries and wages category. 2026 is the time to right-size the library's operating budget and reflect the actual needs of the library. For the past several years, the library has been drawing on our reserves to keep the budget increases artificially low. Library staff are city staff, and over 70% of our budget is wages and benefits related. For 2025, you'll see up on the screen wages of $1.94 million. This is actually being offset by an adjustment of $200,000 pulled from library reserves that helped to bring this year, the 2025's budget, within the 3% expenses increase as directed by the mayor. Therefore, the budget variance in wages of $524,000 sorry, this is a change figure. Okay. I'm sorry, I literally have just seen this spreadsheet now. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm wondering, is this looking at the new position starting mid-year as opposed to? Sorry, I'm just very confused here.
So through the chair, I'm not sure which line you're looking at, but any staffing for next year will be in the base budget. It would have not been changed from previous. So if it was staggered in, the numbers would reflect that. If we're going to further do staggering, that would come at a subsequent adjustment.
Okay. Okay. Let me just back this up a little bit here slightly. For Therefore, the budget variance in wages of $449,000 that you're seeing there appears higher based on this adjustment of the $200,000 from the 2025 budget year. My apologies. These salaries also include a new position for 2026, Supervisor of Support and Technical Services, which I'll discuss in a few minutes. Outside of wages and benefits, we're looking at an overall increase to expenses of 2.9%. So that's everything outside of wages. You'll see at the bottom of the spreadsheet there a $200,000 interfunctional adjustment. This will be another transfer from library reserves to go into the materials budget, which has also been increased by $200,000, which will be for minor capital, furniture, fixtures, and equipment at the Fenelon Falls branch expansion, as well as the development of the Lindsay branch creativity lab. Overall, in 2026, we are looking at an increase to our expenses budget of about $471,000. This is an overall increase in expenses of 18%. Total expected expenditures budget for 2026 will rise to $3.15 million. Our net budget request for 2026 is $2,881,000, an increase of $470,000 or 20%. This is just that variance again. So there'll be $200,000 put out of, and for 2026 out of library reserves for minor capital, furniture, fixtures, and equipment at Fenelon Falls branch expansion and the Lindsay branch creativity lab. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, the library is requesting a new supervisor of support and technical services for 2026. This position has been part of the library's long-term staffing plan for several years and was originally to be requested in 2025. It was pulled at the last minute to help address the budget concerns and keep us to only a 3% increase to our 2025 budget. This position will be responsible for collection development and management of both physical and digital collections, supervise the maintenance of the library's catalog and computer systems, oversee the library's digital resources and services. As I mentioned earlier, over 70% of all public interactions are now digital. And then will play a key role in upgrading and rethinking our public and staff spaces to make them more flexible and adaptable. As I mentioned earlier, increasing our digital library is seen by residents as a key priority for the library. This position is very much about being ready for the future. And at this point, I'll stop and take questions.
Thank you. Any questions, Councilor Warren?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Jamie. It seems like almost every week there's something new and exciting happening at the library, so well done. How much is left in the reserve? Are you going to be spending out the reserve on this budget?
No, there'll still be a little bit left. At the start of this year, we were at about $700,000 in reserves. We'll be pulling that $200,000 for wages out. That'll bring us to about $500,000 December 31st, or I guess January 1st, 2026. So,
and knowing how the reserve happened, is it possible that there can be some gapping of hiring to offset some of the increases?
That is possible. At this point, it is getting pretty close to the bottom of the barrel if we are to take the $200,000 for the furniture, fixtures, and minor capital as well. So that there would be some, but not exactly sure how much would be left at the end for 2026.
Councilor Richardson?
Thank you. Through your chair, that's exactly where I was going with my question, is just to figure out if you were still at that $500,000 mark for your reserves.
I'm sorry.
Would you be at the $500,000 mark in your reserves after you take out that $200,000 for
this year's? Yeah,
for this year?
This position, yes.
And what are you looking for that reserve for the future? Like,
I'd have to actually hand it over to CAO Taylor. We are looking at being incorporated into the city's reserve policy.
Through the chair, yep, CEO is accurate. We want to shift and have a library dedicated reserve that really functions better as a reserve for what it was intended for, small capital, small improvements. The CEO also mentioned in the presentation that the salaries and wages, I mean, they're being driven by a number of factors. The Budget Committee has asked this question through others as well. And this is the year that we are trying to, I'll say, right size or restructure the library budget so it runs just like any other department. So one of the things you're seeing is a cascading, because we used reserves to pay for operating in previous years, that has a snowball effect in the next year's cycle. It's not in the base budget. It's not in the base tax support. So you're actually having to catch up twice, in essence, every time you draw from reserves to match that total. So we're trying to, again, restructure the budget so salaries, wages, and benefits run like all other city departments, and then that reserve would be capped at a level that's reasonable for other improvements at the discretion of the board.
Thank you, and I think that explains it very well, so I appreciate that. And also, yes, congratulations on seeing how much your programming has grown as well.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Chair. Yeah, I was going to echo that on the programming events. It's quite impressive from 2019 to 2024, so good work there.
Thank you.
Top future priorities, increasing branch hours. Is that beyond 20, when you say that, you mean beyond 2026, or are you increasing branch hours in this 2026 budget as well?
No, any increase to branch hours would also require increasing staffing hours. So at this point, we're beyond the supervisor position. That's the only position we're asking for this year. The three priorities that the public brought forward, that's in rank order. So number one is increased events and programs. Number two is digital resources. And number three, surprisingly, was branch hours.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for coming today. Could I have a motion to receive the report? Councillor Warren, seconded by Councillor Joyce. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much for coming today. We'll take 5 minutes right now for the next group to get ready. Thanks. I'd like to call the meeting back to order, and we'll jump into 4.2, which is the Development Service budget presentation, starting off with the Director of Development Services, Leanne Berry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is great. Let's just keep going here. So, of course, thank you for the introduction. Leah Berry, Director of Development Services, and I am here on behalf of our exceptional management team. We are very glad to be here. We want to share with you, obviously, our overview of our department. We'll be looking at our structure and roles. We will provide an overview of the divisions within our department, some noteworthy accomplishments this year, what we're prioritizing for next year, and we'll touch on our main budget pressures for 2026. No surprises here. Let me rip off the Band-Aid. I won't leave you in suspense until the end of the presentation. Our primary budget pressure through 26 and likely beyond is our continuing partnership with our external consultants. It is not all bad news. It's actually quite an interesting paradox. So we'll unpack that further as we move through the presentation. So with me today from our leadership team, representing 57 full-time staff, is our executive assistant, Wendy Ellis. And for those who may not know, even though she's been all over the media earlier in the year, celebrating 45 years of service with us, our Chief Building Official, Suzanne Murchison, who leads the Building and Septic Division, along with our Supervisor of Plans Review and Inspections, Matt McKinnon, and our Supervisor of Part 8 Sewage Systems, Ann Elmhurst. Our Manager of Economic Development, Rebecca Mustard, and joining us from Planning is our Policy Supervisor, Mark Jill, and our newly appointed Development Supervisor, Catherine Evans. So yes, indeed. So our managers are going to, of course, take you through their division portfolios in just a moment. From an overview perspective, we're all collectively responsible for providing leadership, guidance, and direction to ensure efficient and effective administration, operations, and delivery of programs and services in the building and septic, ECDEV, and land use planning sectors. We do this in part through our administration and coordination of city committees and boards, and that includes a number of citizen volunteers. We do appreciate their service. Couldn't do the work without them. We have 3 of these advisory committee and boards in ECDEV and another 3 in planning. In ECDEV, we've got the Agricultural Development Advisory Committee, the Heritage Advisory Committee, and our Downtown Lindsay BIA. And in planning, our Committee of Adjustment, the Environmental Advisory Committee, and our Planning Advisory Committee. Our friends in Corporate Services Treasury have supported our presentation with summarizing the key revenue generators and expense areas. Our revenue is primarily generated through building permits, development applications, and grants. We see another small dip in grants, like last year, through a number of prospects coming ahead for next year. And Rebecca will touch on these through her presentation in a few moments. Staffing up in planning has led to a significant narrowing of the processing gap that proponents were seeing in the past few years between actually filing their applications and getting approvals. But our numbers don't necessarily tell that story. We are also processing more applications, but at lower price points. So these would be things like pre-consultations and minor variances. Revenue from development applications and building permits has taken a dip in our community, and we think you'll agree that reflects what the market is doing, and of course is an industry trend across the province. Overall, the small revenue decrease of 3% will see an uptick as development applications and building permit applications are tallied for Q4. We know this, of course, because internally we're already gearing up to process those applications that aren't yet reflected in real time. So moving to our expenses, of course, our largest generator is staff salaries and benefits that are provided by the corporation. With the addition of 2 new staff and several more summer student hours across ECDEV and planning, we can anticipate this line item to reflect this moderate increase. Our salaried staff only makes up a portion of our increased expenses. We do have other temporary contract positions like interns, summer students, but these are funded and cost recovered through grants. Our contracted staff blow our expenses out of the water. Wage gapping in planning initially supported our contract costs, but we have seen a shift in this area. We will look at this in more detail when we hone into the planning division budget in just a few minutes. We're budgeting for a slight increase overall in the field of training and materials for our ECDev team, who both get trained themselves and who are also responsible for providing training to businesses. Without known major legislative changes to building, septic, and planning legislation to budget for, we're seeing a decrease in expenses in those areas, and that provides some space to stretch our professional development wings and participate in both hybrid, but also in-person training events over the next year, which we strongly value. We are projecting decreases from facility rentals, and these are quite small costs. For example, some of our workshopping that we do out of the ECDev portfolio in agriculture wouldn't necessarily have the same needs next year to have this space in a rental facility. So we're seeing decreases there, decreases in bank service charges. Other matters that make up the interfunctional adjustments that you've already heard about from other divisions, I won't spend any time there, in particular, of course, because we are projecting decreases. All told, our department budget is proposed to increase by about $2 million to $6.2 million for 2026. We will cover planning's contracted services during the upcoming division review, as I noted a moment ago. I'll flag here on the variance slide, though, that this area also represents the department's reliance on our external legal services. Of course, that can range from agreement preparation, review, registration, placing and removing orders on title, to defending the city through an appeals process at a number of different tribunals. All right, so now we'll go from one extreme to another, 200% budget overages to an absolute work of art, building and septic's cost recovery model with a 0% variance. Suzanne Murchison, step right up.
All right. So 2025 has seen the building and septic team at a full complement, which is good news for us. We are ready when the development pressures do start coming our way. This has allowed for the inspection team to focus on closure of open permits. So we're looking at permits that date from 2001 to present day. Over the last 3 months, June through August, we closed over 600 of those permits. So it's a good news story. We're getting a lot of old permits off the books. 2025 housing starts are trending to be on par with 2024 at this point, based on issuance numbers. The new housing units issued to date are 362 new units, compared to a total of 381 units issued in all of 2024, which is about 95% of 2024 number. 2025 to date, I'll give you a bit of statistical breakdown, hopefully not too in-depth. So new and replacement dwellings, we've done 199 permit issuance for this year with a value of a little over 106 million. We have all other residential types, 399 permits issued with 24.5 million in value. We have agriculture permits, 54 with a value of a little over 8 million. We have commercial, 35 with a value of close to 6 million. Industrial, 8 permits with just under 4 million. We have institutional, 23 permits with a little over 10 million in value. And demolition permits, 109 with a little over 1 million in value. So total permits issued to date are 827 with a value of 160,584,142. So we're doing about 94% of what we did at this same time last year. So we're not too far behind, which is good news. Our septic permits in 2025, we've issued 275 to date. And at this time last year, it was 329. So we're at about 84% in the septic side. Our team has also tackled their wellness head-on this year, taking results from the wellness survey and rolling them out with ongoing team initiatives, such as monthly tips for time management, workload management, communication, and delivering helpful feedback to colleagues. So we've really tried to grow. Our team seems to be in a great place, very productive, very happy. It's really a good news story. I'm very proud of them. 2026, we'll see the team continue with various records-related projects that will enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of our service delivery.
Do we want to do questions in between each one? What would the group like to do? Wait till the end? Okay, thank you.
Very good. Rebecca Mustard.
Good afternoon. Excellent. Okay, the economic development team. So we currently have a team of 12 in economic development, including myself. What you have in your economic development team is 9 economic development officers that are split over 3 different program function areas. So we've got a team that delivers culture, a team that delivers tourism programming, and a team that delivers sector and community economic development. These guys are supported by 1 administrative assistant, and thank you for last year's investment of a new economic development coordinator position that's going to come in later on this year and support the economic development program as a whole. This team as well needs to say thank you. We've got a great summer student team that comes in. This year they delivered the business count and worked with our Chambers of Commerce and a BIA all across the city and met individually with almost just over actually 1,000 businesses in the community, checking in with them. So this team delivers some really great programming, and you'll see in the budget this year a couple of things that I'd just like to point out for you. Grants are always a little bit tricky to put into the budget depending on the timing of these. So while it looks like we've got a decrease in grants, which we certainly do this year, you're seeing that as the conclusion of the Rural Economic Development Fund for the Downtown Revitalization Program in Fenelon Falls. And you're also seeing a decline over 2025's budget in the Small Business Centre contract because that contract ends in March of next year. This year we were given some top-up funds by the ministry, which elevated the grant that you're seeing in the 2025 budget. So come March next year, we're actually expecting that we will see some increases in the amount of funding that's coming in for the Small Business Centre. And as always, we continue to look for funding to offset the city's costs in programming and particularly have our eyes on a downtown revitalization program for Bob Cajun starting next year. You see some differences in user fees. You'll see the numbers are actually that it's not a huge amount of money. This really is showing up from our agriculture program with our local food farm fresh program. That's a program that we have shared with our colleagues formerly in Peterborough Economic Development, which is now run by the City of Peterborough and the County of Peterborough. We cost share that program, and so sometimes we hold the funds for the program across all partners, which we have in previous years. This year, coming into 2026, we're not seeing that. We're going to share it a little bit differently, which is why that shows like a decline there. Salaries, you'll see an increase as we would expect. Materials, as Leah mentioned, looks like a large increase of 18%. But what we're seeing here is a couple of projects, not just for training. Sorry, let me go back. Materials, training and services. This does include training for the economic development team, but it's our training of the business community, and it also picks up a whole lot of other lines, including some artifact storage space that's needed in Burnt River for the civic corporate collection, the Maryborough Lodge collection. It includes some work in business attraction and the implementation of a foreign direct investment strategy, which really ties to some long-term planning around how the city positions itself for business attraction to bring jobs to the community, and some matters of that nature. rents and insurance, you'll see a minor adjustment sitting in there just with how we rent space to deliver community programming. And then interfunctional adjustments look different this year because we're seeing an end of the contract that we've had with the innovation cluster. And as well as last year, unspent funds from the Economic Development Fund, which funds local economic development operations for those organizations, as well as cultural facilities. We fund those as well. You do as council, we run that through economic development, and any funds that were not used in 2024 out of that allocation were brought forward in 2025. Done a really good job of allocating those funds in 2025, so we're not expecting to see a lot of leftover money going into 2026. And that covers at a very high level what the economic development budget looks like. Thank you.
All right, so in land use planning, and yes, I will step in and wear the hat that I had a couple of years ago for a number of years, we manage and provide oversight of the regulatory processes for land use development, urban environment, design and protection, and the enhancement of natural features across the community. We do this through policy planning and through processing development applications. And I too will just take a few moments and tell you a bit about the division structure to shed some light on who does what and really how everything gets done. We have 3 administrative assistants, 1 in each area of our operations: Committee of Adjustment, Planning Advisory Committee, and Policy. 2 supervisors, of course, who were introduced at the outset. We have a planning officer of environmental policy who is leading our climate change portfolio, who also supports the CLEAC, the Environmental Advisory Committee group. We have a senior planner who processes a number of PAC, Planning Advisory Committee, applications, things like official plan amendments, rezonings, subdivisions, condominiums, and also site plan applications. Currently, this position is also the Secretary Treasurer to the Committee of Adjustment. And so in addition to the statutory responsibilities that the Secretary Treasurer has, this position also is responsible for clearing conditions of consent. Those are the severance applications, conditions of approval. We have 5 Planner 2s, 4 in development planning, and 3 of the 4 work exclusively in the Committee of Adjustment portfolio, so that's processing minor variances and consent applications. Our 4th Development Planner 2 assists with the more technical applications and requests. These would be things like condo exemptions, par law control exemptions, holding removals through a zoning process. Deeming bylaws are another example. Also with site alteration reviews, and we do this to support the work of our colleagues in development engineering. This position is also responsible for zoning bylaw amendment and official plan consolidations of amendments. A 5th Planner 2 focuses on policy review and development, as well as the long-term policy projects. This position supports our colleagues in ECDEV through a number of different technical reviews, programs like the $1 Million Makeover application review, for example, and also is a support as a staff liaison to the Heritage Advisory Committee. We currently have 2 Planner 1s, and those planners round out our frontline customer service team by addressing those daily inquiries, by responding to internal staff requests for compliance. There are a number of these that get filed with planning from our colleagues in municipal law enforcement, also from building and septic. The Planner 1s do also work in the pre-consultation and telecommunications spaces. We can average about 20 inquiries per day, and I'll let you do the math there on what that looks like over the year. And we are hiring. Help us get the word out. We've got 3 vacancies in existing positions in our org chart. This would be a 3rd Planner 1, a 2nd Senior Planner, and a Manager of Planning. Those are our 3 current vacancies. A fourth position is new to the org chart. This is a planning technician, which has both a frontline concierge role and as a more junior planner would assist with the day-to-day communications and responses to the community. Also, this position would be involved with doing research, gathering information, data entry, following industry trends, tracking our new housing units, or at least supporting some software that we are purchasing to also help in that regard. That was, and thank you, that was a council decision for this year's budget that we can start recruiting for in this quarter. So we're seeing an increase to the salary expenses and planning, which would connect with this new position request for 2026, that being a fourth planner one to join our frontline team. It is, if not one of the busiest portfolio with the number of inquiries that come through every day. So adding a fourth planner to that roster, we think would support the day-to-day customer service work, support an increase in response times to turn around inquiry responses more quickly. But we also see an opportunity here to spread the frontline work across more planners. And by doing that, we would be giving the more junior planners some opportunity to expose them to a variety of other planning work. Internally, a full complement would bring the planning division to 18 staff. Of our 18 full-time staff, noticeably absent from our overall corporate org chart is our team of external consultants. So without including the consultants that would be involved in special projects under contract, at any given time, we can have up to about 25 planners and administrative staff from our collective consulting groups working with our planning staff. This is about 7 from WSP, and a little bit of background, WSP has been working with planning for about 3 years. Their involvement is predominantly in the site plan and other PAC related files that I mentioned earlier. We have an independent registered professional planner, Bruce Stickney, also with us for about 3 years, and his role is to exclusively work in the consent application portfolio and committee of adjustment. And then we've got up to about 16 staff from Dylan. Dylan has been with us for just a year less, about 2 years at this point, and are not only processing the PAC files like WSP, but also we've expanded their role this year to include consents and pre-consultations. So we have made a concerted effort to redeploy, to promote internally, to uptrain our internal staff, and really just to better utilize our additional external resources to reduce the processing delays that were an issue in the past, to activate streamlining opportunities, and in some cases add a level of technical expertise or sophistication in the areas of natural heritage and ministerial zoning orders. Especially on the topic of ministerial zoning orders, and the number of residential units that would be permitted through these orders, really we do find that continuing our engagement with our external resources is critical to support the development of our complete communities across the city and to work towards achieving our housing pledge. And again, if that's a number that isn't just at the front of your mind, as it is all of ours, that's 6,500 dwelling units by 2031. While our core service areas have remained the same, all right, so that's answering inquiries, processing applications, and maintaining a strong policy agenda, the complexity of development, the development community itself, the pace and nature of information, those have all continued to evolve. The staffing model that met our needs a decade ago no longer fits. So we're continuing to reassess how we best meet the changing needs that we see from the community, that we see from the developers, that we sort of must abide by through our statutory requirements. Currently, staying the course is garnering very good results. We are reducing backlog application queues, and we are consistently meeting statutory timelines. So, in the words of my colleague, a good news story. The external planning team makes up, of course, the vast majority of our expenses. We can see them there. I won't say the number out loud because nobody would believe us if I did, but it is there in blue and white, I believe. Blue and white. Okay, 296. It's up there, almost 300%. That said, though, and you heard me say a minute ago, 25 external consultants, we know that these staff are not working for the city full-time, 5 days a week. So we also know that the answer is not hiring 25 new planners and other staff in the planning division. We are monitoring the development inquiries and the application volumes against those resources to determine how best to resource the team to stabilize our operations and to fulfill our overarching goal. Big picture, and what we aim to do, even on a daily basis, uptrain our internal staff, fill vacancies, likely add positions to our org chart over the next 5 years, and we think that will best reflect the needs of the community and ultimately bring a lot of the work back in-house. We see there still being a need for contracted services even in the future, but with a more scoped portfolio and looking towards more special projects and areas that we are looking for that sort of added level of expertise, technical expertise. Maybe a good segue back to the variance with our revenue lines. With revenue and development services, same story for planning. We're anticipated to see a small decrease resulting from the application fees, but we do know we've got 3 busy months ahead with Committee of Adjustment and Planning Advisory Committee meeting agendas already scheduled. Decreases are projected in the same, again, areas as for the department as a whole in those internal adjustments, and in my humble opinion, are negligible. All right, so on balance, we're looking in planning at an increase of just over 1.6 million for next year, taking our 2026 budget to 3.686 million. Of course, the largest variance generator are wages and our contracted services. No surprises there. With that, I'm going to turn things back to our Chief Building Official, Suzanne. Please join me. We're going to celebrate some of our accomplishments here over the year and highlight our priorities for next year.
All right, so 2025 accomplishments. We've introduced online permitting using the website with a couple of templates going on to the CityWorks online portal, and the hopes to, at some point when there's some software changes, be able to put all of them over onto that portal. But in the meantime, we wanted to provide the opportunity for our customers. So we have put together something on our website, which has been working great. So we have seen 2025 go paperless in our department. We are not generating paper documents anymore for 2025 files. We've closed 1,000 plus historic files when we go back throughout the whole year to look at what we've done. That's through different means. We've been doing some, tabletop where we do some city maps comparisons to open building permits from 20 years ago to find out, the shed's no longer there, the garage is no longer there. The aerial imagery has really been helpful for this task, as well as getting our feet on the ground and going out. We've then continued with our pre-amalgamation records resort at the records department. We've gone through, I think we're done now 5. We're on our 6th municipality, going through, documenting into detailed spreadsheets what the permits are for, following the records retention scheme, and actually destroying old files that are not of any use to the city. Because there is a lot of paper in that building that has very little information on it, unfortunately. So we've been following that records retention scheme, and we've been doing some cleaning. 2026 priorities is to continue with that, in that we want to get through all of the municipalities by the end of the year, hopefully next year. We're going to continue closing files. because that is just something that is ongoing. It's a good news story. It's great for everybody involved, because we unfortunately do have permit files that pop up where there's been a number of ownership changes during the life of that permit, and it's still open. So it's really hard to give that news to a property owner that, you know, you're the fourth owner since this permit was taken out, but guess what? The permit's still open. So we're really trying to tackle these and get them closed, because we don't want them to keep continuing on through future purchasers. We are in the process of obtaining our health unit records from the health unit in hard copy. And once we get those in-house, we're going to then work on a project of confirming that what we have already digitized is either the complete file, or making sure we add in the pieces that we find in the paper files. And then they will also go the way of the rest of our files, which is once they're digitized and we have a confirmed full copy, we'll be going paperless on those as well. So those are good news stories.
Hey, Rebecca, step right up. Keep going here. Thanks.
Here we go for economic development. This year in 2025 has been a great year. We've seen a lot of things come forward, come to fruition, and things that we'd like to highlight for you today. In 2024, at the end of the year, we completed the economic development strategy. You might recall adopting that as a council. We have really conscientiously taken that document and are filtering all of the work that is happening in the division through that strategy. The strategy really drives the corporate strategic plan around a vibrant and growing economy, as well as some of the other priorities of the strategic plan. But it's really looking at investment. How do we support investment in the community and into the community through the work that we're doing? So we've been supporting investment in business startups, retention, growth, and attraction. Our small business centre is thriving. We have, since the beginning of the year, we've seen 81 different consultations with businesses, 29 new jobs as entrepreneurs have started businesses within the community. Summer Company, which is a program for kids to start and run a business over the summer, as well as our Starter Company Plus, which was for more mature people as they start and grow their business, have been really well received in the community. We have 5 businesses in our development concierge program, which is supporting economic development projects through the development pipeline. We've seen 14 different workshops offered through the department, in addition to programming that we're supporting with others, and 180 participants coming to those workshops. Destination marketing is a really important part of the program. You will know it as Explore Kawartha Lakes, and we're just taking a look at the new tourism brand, which has launched with a new website. We'll launch officially tomorrow with the new website, and that new brand has been pulled through all of the new website and all the new marketing materials. So over the next couple of months, you're really going to see destination marketing, some great imagery and advertising coming out, encouraging people to come to Kawartha Lakes and enjoy their leisure time here. And of course, heritage and culture remain a really vital part of the economic development program. What's really interesting here is trying to stay on top of provincial legislation changes, as well as owner-designated, requested designations coming forward, which is really encouraging that the community is starting to recognize and want to be a part of what is happening in the preservation of space. And we've also completed the Cultural Centre Phase 2 feasibility study that came to Council, and that project continues to move from a feasibility phase into implementation. 2026, we've got some really foundational work that needs to be done, some strategic documents. You'll see up here a list of them. You'll see the signage and wayfinding strategy, which we are all looking forward to receiving and coordinating how we deliver and manage signage, and non-regulatory signage across the community. That includes a tourism wayfinding component. We'll finish off the foreign direct investment strategy. Cultural master plan update is coming, as well as an agriculture and food action plan and an Indigenous relations framework, all coming next year. We're going to continue to support job creation as we do through business startup, retention, expansion, and supporting new businesses as they come into the community. We'll continue to deliver funding. We run a number of funding programs, either through the Small Business Centre, which is provincial funding that flows to businesses, or your funding as council through the Economic Development funds and $1 Million Makeover program. And then, of course, we'll continue to collaborate on placemaking initiatives, particularly in our downtowns, which is where the downtown Bobcaygeon revitalization project will be really interesting, and some public art work as well, which is going to be terrific. So that's a highlight of what we're going. To do that, one of the things that I neglected to say last time is we have put in the budget a request for a second administrative assistant to support the work that the team is doing. There's a lot of work that gets done here, and all of that work really needs a strong administrative foundation so that our economic development officers can go and do the work that they do really well. And when they're in the field, they're not in the office. And if we've got someone in the office to support them being in the field, out in the community and delivering work, that's going to help this program overall. So thank you.
Right, and if you'll allow me, I'll just wrap up our third division here and give you some of our highlights from planning. We prepared the first ever consolidation of the city's official plan this year. We resolved appeals stemming from council's adoption of the rural zoning bylaw that was adopted last year. We completed the climate change strategy request for proposals process, which was a protracted event. We are in a great shape to continue on with that work. We collaborated on the Safe Sidewalks program and established a cross-departmental active transportation implementation working group. We found that to be, well, it is becoming increasingly valuable, but thought that that was a significant initiative with our colleagues in engineering and corporate assets to implement the recommendations of the 2024 ATMP, the Active Transportation Master Plan, and that collaboration is going quite well. Most recently, we advised council on the IESO's LT2 Energy Procurement Program. We project managed the federally required Housing Needs Assessment project to protect our Canada Community Building Fund, and by developing this housing needs assessment, which you can also find on our website. This helps us secure our position to access future federal funding opportunities. We are currently reviewing council's telecommunications tower siting policy for a forthcoming update, which perhaps straddles into our 2026 priorities. That said, I'll just spend a minute now talking about development. That was everything captured sort of in the policy shop for 25. From the development wing of the division, we reduced application backlogs and found process efficiencies. So even with the downtick in application volumes over this last year, we still processed over 250 applications and addressed, again, here's that number, over 100 inquiries per week. It's worth mentioning, so I'll do the math here. That could be up to 5,000 inquiries a year. We have taken some direction from the initial work of our deputy mayor in the service turnaround initiative, and worked with customer service to look at how best to manage the misdirected inquiries so that those aren't taking up too much staff time in planning, and planning can focus on planning-related inquiries. I am going to highlight our pre-consultation story here just for a minute. This is in large part thanks to the efforts of Catherine, our development supervisor, over just this past year. So pre-consultation applications used to be mandatory through the Planning Act and are no longer. We have found, though, that the development community is still very interested in participating in pre-consultation with staff across the city, and that process is led through planning. It's a precursor to development application submission, and a pretty healthy checklist of supplementary or supporting materials are included in a final report after a number of agencies have commented and our internal staff commented on the proposal. which then gets sent out to the proponent. In 2023, during a tumultuous staffing up period that we underwent as a result of a few resignations and retirements of staff. In fact, we were down to about 8 vacancies at that point. We processed 8 pre-consultations that year. We are not proud of this, but we are glad that we were on the map. In 2024, that number increased to 29. This year, we have already processed 70 pre-consultations, and for what we're looking at in the queue to year end, that will hit the 80 application mark. So again, we can figure this out. It's 10 times the number of pre-cons we did a couple years ago, and of course, those are being done in a shorter time frame, much to, we think, the contentment of the development community. So in the field of recruitment, we've reintroduced summer students after about a 5-year hiatus. We welcomed our first municipal climate intern, and we promoted staff internally to essentially broaden their own portfolios and, of course, to encourage professional development. This past July, in fact, our planners attended our National Canadian Institute of Planners conference in Toronto. That was jointly hosted with our provincial affiliate, the Ontario Professional Planners Institute. Of course, a great opportunity to share knowledge, learn, promote our work, and for a number of our planners who are in that place of just sort of starting to learn about fulfilling their obligations to become registered professional planners in this province, a really great platform for them there. So looking ahead to 26, we'll be prioritizing the preparation of a new official community plan, and that, of course, would include a provincial conformity exercise and the implementation of the strategic policy recommendations from Council's growth management strategy, development of the climate change strategy, and that will build on the accomplishments through the Healthy Environment Plan, the implementation of active transportation infrastructure through engineering's capital projects, but also through proponent-initiated site-specific developments. Staff training and development of new standard operating procedures, SOPs, is also an area we want to focus on to round out our involvement in the prime BPM process mapping work. We'd like to focus in sort of the site plan approval area as a place to develop further, to establish guidelines and bring a revised bylaw to council in due course. No small feat, of course, rounding out here with the modernization of inquiry and application workflows through enhanced automation. This continues to be something we are working towards with our colleagues in corporate services. It is part of a broader modernization program across the city. A number of other divisions are looking at this work as well, and we are doing this in part through funding we received from the province's Building Faster Fund. All right, Jessica. 225, we're just about there. 3 short lines on this slide. They are impactful. They have everything to do with our external workforce. We can safely anticipate that our pinch points will be tied to our reliance on contracted services and the rising costs associated with consulting work to meet our legislative requirements, to meet our operational needs, and to complete our special projects. By extension, and we know this from experience, of course, there is some degree of unpredictability associated with decision-making and legal challenges that can result. And what I mean by that are appeals of councils and committee of adjustment decisions. Finally, changes in provincial legislation can pop up mid-year and impact our day-to-day operations as well as our special projects. So those are my concluding thoughts, my concluding comments. And thank you very much for your attention. Haven't left you any time for questions, so have a nice day. I'd be happy to stay up here and...
Yeah, just stay there for a few minutes. So,
are there any topics that are off board, Deputy Mayor? Or is everything free for all now? We can ask questions about anything that we just saw on those slides.
Free for all for questions right now, so... We'll just start with questions because everybody has different questions, so I don't know what department you want to ask for. So we'll just start one at a time, and I'll start with Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Thanks for that segue, too. I think, you know, listening to each department's update today, you definitely hear that there is some good news stories, and recognizing some benchmarks and some things that we've all been anticipating for the future that's coming to. So it's good to see those type of things, exposed. Going to the planning department, recognizing that, you know, there's 3 positions that are vacant, looking for that one additional planner one. What is your biggest challenge getting those positions filled other than competing with other municipalities, do you feel?
Yeah, thanks for the question through the chair. Planning is such an exciting space to work in. What can I say? It's not just all legislation and appeals. That forms part of it. It's an extremely busy portfolio, and there are a lot of competing opportunities in the public sector in this space. And we're finding that we are competing with other municipalities near and far, not just our immediate neighbors. That is and continues, and I think will be going down the line, quite a challenge for us. Which is why we have really made an effort to focus on the terrific resourcing that we have. And I mean, we are talking people, the people that we have in the division, and ensuring that they have the ability to upskill and looking for opportunities to do that, to incentivize essentially them to stay here. It isn't just the work necessarily that interests planners to stay. 25 years ago, before minister zoning orders, for example, were a thing, or appeals of official plans lasted 10, 12 years, which wasn't the case. Those are 2 areas that in today's planning world, I would think could attract planners, not have them run the other way, because it's the kind of work that isn't being done in many other municipalities. So we use those kinds of things that are unique in Kawartha Lakes to sort of leverage keeping our staff.
No, thank you. And I think all of us want to, support you, because we do recognize that you do have some challenges. And also we also need to recognize how much you have, in the last year brought up those pre-cons, like you said, which aren't mandatory any longer. But just looking at your numbers, we can see you're moving the needle forward. So, just keep fighting the good fight.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I want to talk, just explore the good news story here. Reduce first, and then I have more questions, more challenging questions. But the reducing the backlog, the historical documents going paperless, that's a great good news story. What do you attribute that to? How did that happen now versus not before? If you can just sort of expand on that.
Sure, thanks for the question. And through the chair, I just want to make sure that I'm talking planning application backlogs. There was a comment there about going paperless. This is our dream. We are living the dream in planning. That isn't a reality for building and septic. So maybe a 2-stroke answer here, if that's okay. So a backlog, for the most part, I think we saw sort of the most devastating effects of that when we were down to more than or less than, if you look at it, our staffing complement. So when we had more staff away from work than working at the city, there was a very, I think, expected slowdown in getting the work done. We need the people to get the work done. So that was, I think, a big contributor to moving things forward as we began to both staff up, but also seek the support from external contracts. Tied alongside that, because I definitely am a proponent of technology and automating processes and looking for opportunities to streamline. At the end of the day, though, there of course is still work that can only be done by humans, at least at this point, that is the case. And there is the piece around customer service too, that even if a piece of software or hardware can answer a question perfectly well, Our community and what we're finding from commentary that we receive back is that they still enjoy speaking with staff. They want to have that connection, and it isn't always just about the right answer. The right answer is the right answer. It's not always a welcomed answer. And so having the ability to put a bit of a human spin on that and explain the uniqueness of the particular matter is something I think that is still valued.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question is the extra staff you're asking for, that's built into the budget here in terms of salaries and wages. That's already in there for 2026?
For both planning and ECDEV, yes, it is.
Perfect, thank you. Next question is, I know it's a challenge to hire, and you've done a great job. Expand a bit more on your retention plans to make sure we keep our people that we've hired. Because we had, 2 years ago, a lot of people left. So how are we avoiding that happening again?
Including yours truly. I credit it all to our leadership team. In all honesty, I think having a gap in that sort of stabilizing force in a management level or supervisory level position could very possibly, like having a gap there could very possibly, and I think part of what we saw a number of years ago, not having that direct connection to a supervisor to talk through day-to-day challenges, struggles, or positive celebrations may have contributed to possibly some morale issues or some unsatisfactory. Now, when I say this, it's like, as opposed to being 100% satisfied, 99.9% satisfied. But I've definitely found and heard from our planning staff that they very much appreciate having the very accessible nature of our supervisors there, whether in the flesh or through virtual means. We do operate in a hybrid environment in the planning division, but there, from, again, feedback from the staff, I am not hearing this same disconnect between having that person-to-person contact. It goes a long way.
Very good, thank you. Okay, I want to drill down a bit on the contracted services. So in an ideal world, okay, you have $1 million worth of contracted services. If you could just wave the magic wand, how much staff could, not the number of staff, but say staff salaries, cost, could you hire to do the exact amount of work, roughly? Do you follow, or like we'd save money if we could hire the staff, boom, we wouldn't need as much contracted services. So what's the relationship there in terms of our bottom line?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking it. We know it's not a direct ratio, and we also know it's dynamic. So there are those two maybe influences or factors that we need to consider. What we balance out additional staff with is also an increase in automation. And notwithstanding my previous comments, which of course are still relevant, there are time savings and other savings that we will see by stepping into, well, let's just start with this year, 2025, and incorporating just some very basic ways to automate our work. We're seeing some great advancements in the recently launched new city website, AI, for example, being quite a big component and certainly brand new. And so there are some opportunities there. I don't know, Councillor, if you're looking for a specific ratio, 1-3, for example, but I think that over the next 5 years, we will be coming forward to council with 1 to 2 new position requests in planning as we see the balance shift from our current application volumes, dovetailed by advancements in some of our software that will automate some pieces and reduce a little bit of staff time. and be able to gauge, again, dynamic workflow, dynamic application volumes, whether that will require an uptick to 2 to 3 staff or a downtick to only 1 or none in a subsequent year. So what I'm not projecting for is a year where we will come with double-digit requests for new staff based on our previous trends.
So just so to make it clear, I'm actually encouraging we hire staff to lower our contracted services. So that's really the question, is the ratio, very roughly, in an ideal world, you could just hire those people tomorrow, we could save on contracted services.
And I
Is
appreciate
there some kind of relationship there you can just sort of just give us in a very short answer?
Yeah, and again, for the record, we do appreciate council's encouragement to look at our staffing model and to see where our staffing complement can increase realistically and reasonably. It is so closely tied to application volumes. Development applications are sort of by far the largest, and we can see just by our staffing and how it's spread out across the 2 main areas of either development or policy. We can see some potential for, in fact, beefing up the policy area, to be quite frank, as opposed to necessarily adding more development planners. We have yet to see how the planning technician position, which is sort of the connective tissue between our frontline administrative staff and our planners, will sort of be successful in terms of connecting our responses to the inquirers. I am definitely not addressing your what could the ratio be if there was one, and simply put, it's because we see such a fluctuation in development applications. Even when the development complexity is there and could require a maybe longer period of time to work through, we're not seeing 20, for example, of that same application type. So increasing staff, yes, we are going to look at that, but in a very sort of methodical way, because we don't want to also risk the city's sort of fiscal position by having too many staff and not enough work.
I understand that. I just was wondering if you could give me a ratio, that's all. But we'll just move on.
To just circle back, if we look at a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 5, that could be reasonable. Okay.
That's all I want. Thanks. Thanks very much. No further questions on the planning side. I got more questions in other departments.
Councillor Warren.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of my questions have been answered, but you kind of hit on a time frame of when we would be able to not have consultants come into the mix. So was it 5 years? I'm just following up on your questions. I heard 5 years. Is that what you're envisioning, that we won't have to go out, that we would hire every year, and then we'd hopefully be up to a full complement where we wouldn't have to subcontract?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And you do, Councillor, hit on a good point, and that is in terms of staffing up. Not only do we see there being a contribution from our external services because of the nature of the work, but also, of course, we do have the vacancies that the external resources are there to help supplement. So again, every year, almost every month, we are looking at how cyclical, or are there any patterns to how staff sort of come and go through the planning division. In 5 years, just because you're right, I did say that number, by gradually increasing if the work warrants it, and again, I think only 3 years in and really solidly 2 years into this program of relying on our external services, is still a relatively short time period. So in 5 years, I expect that we would have fewer consultants, but I do not think that we will be eliminating that sort of role that they play with our staff. I think that we will be utilizing the expertise that the contractors bring until there's a balance there, or a better balance of training internally our staff to be able to fill that gap.
Thank you for that. Just a couple other questions. You talked about having to go outside for legal opinions and such. We've just hired in the last year another solicitor. So would that be, because we have another solicitor, can we not do more in-house?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So we are continuing to speak with our legal team internally, of course, with Robin Carlson being our first solicitor, and Eric Sherbert being our newly appointed solicitor, to see where there could be some greater partnership or even reliance on utilizing some of their expertise for not just planning, but also agreement review and other processes in ECDev and in building and septic as well. So the conversation is continuing. There is more than enough work to go around with our solicitor's portfolio as it is. And so we don't see any immediate changes to having our legal team take on any more development services work. But certainly there's a commitment there to look at where some adjustments can be made.
And just on that, so maybe it would make, not that this is your portfolio to hire another solicitor to take on more development, it would probably be less expensive than going out. But anyway, that's just a comment. So I was just wondering also what is happening with the updating of the OP? Is that coming up? I didn't hear that. That's why
Right. I introduced the budget committee to a new term. We figure if we start early, it might gain some traction. A new official community plan. Possibly more photos, right? More pictures, and some additional visuals that will read more like a story. And I'm looking over to our policy supervisor here, who has some really interesting ideas on how to step forward with what was more sort of conventionally formatted as official plans, and read more, of course, keeping all our statutory obligations well in mind, but having it be a very user-friendly document for the community.
just finally, I was just a view that maybe pre-consultation also makes us more efficient too, by having that. So we know what's happening out there with people's issues, and it helps us also. I think it's great not to get away from that. I think it's very important. So it's just a comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. With the chair's indulgence, I'll just, and I realize you don't have a question in there, but Councillor, thank you. But you are right, there are efficiencies there for sure. Once proponents are aware of how some of their development proposals are sort of going to, what it's going to take to get them to the finish line. It's either more than they bargained for example, or has given them pause and an opportunity to reconsider. And so that eliminates Planning Act applications that would otherwise be filed and either be incomplete or problematic.
Thank you. I just have one question. So the question I got is that we have 16 individuals from Dillon, 7 from WSP. Do you have any metrics to rate their performance, timelines, et cetera? Is there any penalties given to them if they don't do the work timely, or any bonuses? And do you have any control over those people of when they get their work done in a timely manner?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. As far as penalty and bonuses go, they are under contract. The consultants, are under contract with the city to satisfy our statutory requirements. So in my mind, a sort of bonus, so to speak, is that we're doing the job in the time that we're supposed to do it in. And we're not seeing appeals, for example, based on failure for decisions to be made within certain timelines. Whether there are any other sort of monetary bonuses or penalties that those individual employers have is not an area that I step into. We have regular meetings with our contracted service providers. Additionally, we have, and that's weekly, additionally, we have monthly contract health checks, if I can put it that way, where we are looking at metrics and performance. And so we're able to make adjustments or direct that adjustments be made and talk those through on how best to deliver the service. We definitely also hear feedback from our consultants that they have some of the same staffing issues that the city has. And so there are some learning curves there that we work with them to overcome, but certainly they know there is an expectation that the work be done at a professional level and on time.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say they have the same staffing issues, but I believe that if we're going to hire them, we shouldn't hear about that. They shouldn't be taking our work on if they have staffing issues, but I don't know how many other companies there are out there to do this, but right now you're working with two, but anyway, that's interesting that they're going to take on work, and they have the same problem that we have. So if it's the same problem, where are we benefiting from that?
Thank you. We are part of that conversation with them, and I'd say that the area that they experience isn't so much about turnover, although that is happening. Our observation is when newer staff, for example, and is the case with us, are either being added to the roster of planning staff from those contracts and are training up. So we don't see, for example, a downtick or a downturn in the number of staff that are working on our contract, but there's a varying level of experience there, and there's a learning curve there, but we also work with the both senior planners and project managers at the consulting firms to ensure that there is a baseline of quality assurance there.
Thank you. Okay, I think you're up. One more question.
Sorry, forgot to ask, and it kind of liaises with what you just asked. Do other municipalities have to contract out like we do? You probably know, but just wondering.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, absolutely. It's very common now and has been for the same amount of time and earlier. In fact, another element here to our ability to retain and continue our service agreements is that our very professional outside services are in high demand. Not our problem. That is to, again, the Deputy Mayor's points, not our problem. But we do have regular discussions about where the best areas are to pour resources into, just to make sure that we are getting what we're paying for.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. I think they've just about wore you out on that one, but any other questions for any other department? Well, for this group here. Yes. Okay, Councillor Joyce.
Yes, thank you. I have a question for Rebecca, our Manager of Economic Development. So sometimes I know why your department exists, and I'm supportive of that, but I get questions sometimes like, why do we have an ECDEV department? And so we're spending $2.5 million in economic development for 2026. That's what's budgeted. What's our return on investment for the city? I know, I put you on the spot here. So I know that's detailed in your development strategy. I've seen the numbers, but it's not here. And I think for future, bring some of those numbers to this budget type meeting, I think would be helpful. So I kind of put you on the spot here. If you don't have those numbers in your head, I understand, but if you can, on the fly, help us out here, would be great.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. I will bring those numbers, and I will start with the end. That the end of the year, for the first time in quite a while, we're going to put together a year in review document that will capture all of the work that happens in the department and all of the outcomes, so it's very clear what's going on. But for today, when we talk about economic development, there are economic development offices all across Ontario, all across Canada, all throughout very much a lot of the world. And the goal of the work is to say, when you invest in your community, when you look at working with your businesses and with your community groups and you empower them and open up doors for them, their ability to contribute and make place and make healthy, strong, complete communities is huge. There was some work that was done in the US back in the 80s where economic development as a field was really changing from what was called smokestack chasing. So running out to grab a massive factory and bring it in and bring in the jobs and bring in the tax base that will come with it. Costs a lot of money. Outcome, really important for a local community that needs jobs and needs a stable tax base, but very expensive and a bit of a needle in a haystack chase. So while there's a really important part around investment attraction coming in, a huge part of our program is business retention and expansion and business startup. And the idea is that the best sort of research that's out there at the moment is that 80% of new jobs in a community are coming from your existing businesses. So the more you as a community invest in making it possible for them to go through a planning process and put up a building and invest in new equipment and access other resources that might be needed for a business that is so invested in the business, but you bring the rest of the support system around them, the better they're going to do. So our program here is called Economic Development, but it could very easily, and maybe one day will evolve, to really explain what it is that we do. So we do economic development, traditional economic development, so business, startup, retention, expansion, investment attraction. We do destination management and marketing. So we are the group across the whole of this area that promotes tourism. There are 1.6 million tourists, that's a really old number, but probably a pretty accurate one, that come to this area every year and spend their money here. If you were to be one of those tourists, you could go anywhere in Ontario if you wanted to spend your dollars in Ontario. So why come to Kawartha Lakes? Why go to Fenland Falls? Why come to Lindsay? Why go to Bobcaygeon? Why head up to Kinmount? Unless someone is telling you it's really important for you to go. There's something really special here for you. So part of our program here around tourism is attracting those people and helping them choose to come here rather than go to Muskoka, Prince Edward County, Niagara. All great places to go, but definitely come here. And then culture and heritage is a new emerging sector here. And when you look at a lot of the research around what makes communities really special places that people want to move to, and we're talking about resident attraction, the culture of a community and what it provides to people are really significant. So a lot of jobs actually chase people where the people are. They come for the talent. So the better we have at investing in recreation services here, even the quality of our roads makes a really big difference to people's quality of life here, as well as a protection and preservation and use of the built heritage that makes Kawartha Lakes really interesting, or the public art that makes a downtown such a fascinating place to be, or the downtowns themselves that are just, they're not generic. There's something special about them. That place-making piece and that culture piece really supports on a number of levels, but one really important for us is around resident attraction, resident retention.
Well said, thank you very much. I'll just point out, just on tourism alone, 1.6 million tourists per year.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
that's
pretty easy to drop $100 in a day these days, so thank you very much per tourist.
Thank you. Any other questions for this group today? Okay, I'm seeing none. Could I have a motion to receive the Developmental Services budget presentation? Counselor Warren, second Counselor Joyce, all in favor? Thank you. And also just another congratulations to Wendy Ellis for your 45 years of service. That's quite a resume you have there. So thank you very much for your service too. So, and thanks again for everybody coming today and spending the time to present your budget. Thank you. We'll take better take 10 minutes this time for this group to leave and the next group to come down. Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the meeting back to order, and we'll go right into 4.3, Public Works Budget Presentation, Oliver Vergelis.
Okay, all things Public Works for the next little while. Let's see how fast I can talk. All right, here we have our little overview. I'll give you a moment to have a look at it. It's only going to tell you what's coming, which you're going to see anyway. So, Public Works divides up into roads operations, waste management services, fleet services, transit operations, and water and wastewater. There's an administration piece in there, which is all the people that get to tell everybody else what to do, which is basically me and Shelley. Should probably advance this too so you can see it. Okay. Our group is the group that produces most of the work that touches people directly. So the roads that you drive on, the water that comes out of your tap, where the garbage goes, and provides services to the rest of the city through fleet services, and provides transit services to the public. All right, it's a big budget, approximately $74 million. And we have very many and a lot of multi-million-dollar contracts, and it is a focus of a lot of the work that we do, which is managing those contracts. The overall departmental overview. Inside this, if you take a look at revenue, the large numbers in this one are, we have a little bit less coming in grants, and a little bit less coming in other revenues. Most of that is due to changes to the way our solid waste department is gonna be functioning in the coming years. And below we have our overall expenses. Wages are what they are. Our interfunctional adjustments are largely driven by a reduction in the amount of money that we're asking fleet to accept. And this is new to me, so we're going to deal with a little bit of. Oh no, it's not that. Not my first rodeo, but also not something I'm used to doing. So, why don't we skip over this and head into okay. So inside other revenues for our budget, one moment. May I take a moment? Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I have to, because this is like, it's all leaving my head as I'm standing here talking about it, so. Would anybody mind if I skip into the department by department? I think I'll be able to do a better job. There we go. All right. Thankfully, there's not a whole lot of changes going on in the administration. That's fairly static. The only real difference there is salaries and wages, which is covered by other explanations. Roads, finally something. This is where I came from, so this is where I'll be able to say something. All right. So inside here, we have a reduction in interfunctional because there's a reduction in the amount of money that we're providing to fleet in fleet service charges. Salaries and wages have an increase. Our contracted services increase is largely due to our winter control, which goes up every year. We also have calcium chloride, other large-scale contracts that we're looking for in providing the things like grass cutting, dust control, pothole patching services when we can't do it ourselves. All of that is structured into the contracted numbers, and those numbers are, well, we have to pay a certain amount of an increase every year, and with the winter maintenance control, that is also largely done with what kind of winter we're going to be receiving. Recovery from other municipalities is what we receive from boundary road agreements, which is fairly static. And then yeah, user fees and license fees. What is that again, Chow? What's in there?
Not, sorry. Sorry. Most of the user fees are in roads are permit fees and whatnot. Okay.
All right. Everybody's favorite item, which is winter control. This slide does a nice job of demonstrating the variability from one winter to another. As you can see, if you take a look at snow removal, in 2025, our actuals to date, to right now, is $1,030,000. Our budget is for $529,000. So you can see the variability of when we get a serious winter as opposed to what we budget for, which is more of a middle of the road winter. And what we're proposing is, again, conservative, but still shooting for the average, as opposed to trying to foresee what, gaze into a crystal ball and try and decide what kind of weather or what kind of winter we're going to have in the future. Okay. Waste management. So there has been a great deal of fluctuations and changes in waste management this year, which is great for Heather because she just started here and she has the wonderful joy of sorting it all out right when she's beginning. The large points in this one are that the changes the provincial government has made to the way recycling happens has resulted in there being a reduction in the amount of grant funding that we receive. And inside that, there's also an issue of, well, we'll come to it with the next section underneath there, which is with them picking up recycling, we also have to figure out how to deal with commercial recycling and recycling that makes it to the depot. So that is going to be a cost for the city, which is not entirely offset by the reduction in costs by not having to do curbside collection for residences. There is an increase in user fees, which we're proposing to offset some of that by increasing user rates. And There is a reduction in other revenues. That is a lease that we were doing for the transfer station, which is not going to happen for next year. So that's revenue that we're not getting from the person who's leasing that facility. And when you have a reduction in revenue, it comes out as an increase in budget. Okay. Okay, fleet. So the primary budget pressure here comes from the fact that through a collaboration between corporate services and fleet services, we are trying to peer into the future to discern what fuel usage is going to be for next year and what fuel costs might be for next year. And inside that have come to a reduction in what fleet services is going to be charging to the rest of the city. That reduction in costs to the rest of the city, while provides a savings to them, it is a reduction in revenue to fleet, which shows up as a budget pressure. So that is where the largest portion of pressure is in fleet. There is a lease that we're going to do, but that is going to be also offset by cost savings and contracted services. So in the end, the wash comes down to looking into the future and trying to discern what it might be for fleet charge-out rates. Now, transit primary pressure is the addition of some staff to meet requirements for ESA. That being, we had a circumstance, we have one supervisor overseeing operations from, 7 until 7, something like that? 7 till 10. One supervisor supervising operations from 7 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. That is not a sustainable model for that individual. So it's the introduction of some crew lead positions, and I believe we also factored in some full-time driver positions in there to attempt to stabilize the scheduling situation for putting drivers on the road. So you have that pressure along with the addition of a new bus, which is why their interfunctional adjustments have gone up, correct? It's just one, right? Right, okay. All right. Now with water, wastewater. This is an entire user rate budget, which is why it's showing up as not having a grand total. As far as the main pressures in here, there is a large increase in interfunctional adjustments where they're correcting the amount of money that's going into reserves. And there is some contractual pressures on this budget as well, based on the contracts that we have, and work that is coming into water, wastewater that needs to be included in subsequent budget. Okay. What have we managed to achieve? So for roads, in 2025, the management and completion of the ice storm phases 1 and 3 was a large unknown pressure that happened to the roads operations group, which required a fair amount of effort from our citywide operations group. And we are now finished with cleaning up that ice storm, and the financial impact of that is going to be determined as we go a little bit further into the billing phases of that. We're in the implementation phase of our Roads Patrol software. It's currently in testing. We did this in collaboration with People Services to enhance staff development. We have the creation of an inventory system for recording. This is something that was developed by our internal GIS supervisor, who did an absolutely excellent job in creating an application for us to use in the field to inventory and catalog roadside inventory. So assets such as guide rail and signs that we can use that we can catalog and actually put into the field so we know what and where we have and where we have it. And as the city grows, the city has been absorbing more stormwater management ponds, and this has resulted in the need for a robust stormwater management plan, maintenance plan, which is now complete. For roads for next year, we will focus on our depot master. We have a depot master plan, and it's implementing that plan into reality. And then we also continue with our transition to digital technology. So through fleet and roads, we'll be looking at digitizing our circle checks and hours of service, so that instead of generating vast quantities of paper, we are in a position where we can have this done automatically, so that it flows from the operator to fleet in an efficient way. All right, so Fleet successfully met all the legislated inspection requirements for implementing a new provincially legislated program called Drive On. We've mitigated cost increases through scheduling, vendor management, and expansion of in-house service capacity, and addressed their supply chain pressures by maintaining strategic parts inventories. And then this is the successful implementation of a fleet shunter position, which has generated cost savings by internalizing truck shunting, because prior to that program, depot staff were moving the equipment around on their own. So whenever that happens, those staff are not doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. This way, they can be moved to fleet without service impact to the public. For 2026, they're going to continue the implementation of their technological advancement through management software, improve workflow efficiency and cost accounting and controls, while providing better data for fleet decisions and initiatives. And in addition to the advanced multi-year digitalization legislated Ministry of Transportation requirements, including this is tying into what I said before, which is the circle checks and hours of service, which are made possible through our AVL program. All right. In transit, they're looking towards getting their transit master plan completed in 2026. They're for this year. It's underway right now, hoping to have it done in 2026. Right now, they have designs in place for the GO Transit Metrolinx location near Fleming College. They're in negotiations phase with that. And for 2026, they are hoping to complete and implement the transit master plan, or in beginning that multi-year implementation phase, and then having the budget and strategic alignment of transit division, which will prioritize the initial goal of launching rural microtransit and on-demand transit, which will be outlined in their transit master plan. For waste, the Waste Department implemented the source separated organics program, and are looking to the future for managing all of the changes that are coming with Blue Box, with recycling changes forced upon the municipality by the province. And in next year, they're looking for ways to optimize the source-separated organics program and implementing some other initiatives to offset costs associated with the changes from the province to recycling. All right. In water wastewater, they have successfully digitized their logbooks and are in the process of completing phase 1 of 5 for the SCADA update, which is supervisory control and data acquisition. And then next year, they're going to continue walking their way through phases 1 to 5 of that program for the 21 drinking water systems that the city has. The administration, we have enhanced customer service, internal and external, cross-divisional support for ongoing improved clothing and uniform processes. And we're going to continue developmental and business process documentation and focus on employee knowledge base and training. So budget pressures for roads. Since the pandemic and the volatile cost cost world that we live in today, we continue to have material and contractual increases that that put pressure onto the budget, and we continue to absorb new infrastructure and facilities such as stormwater management ponds. And we're trying to reduce a backlog in maintenance that we acquire. It's a function of the work that stuff wears out, and we have to fix it, and it's a continuous cycle, and we're trying to catch up. Fleet, they're trying to deal with a constantly evolving and increasing cost world, which is not made any easier by the uncertain trading relationships we have with the United States at the moment. And the fluctuation in fleet charge-out rates that we have, we're going to see how that one plays out for next year. And in transit, for them, it's a staff and equipment. We have increased the amount of staff we're proposing to, and we have increased some equipment costs as well through acquiring more buses. For waste, the big changes there and the big pressures are the changes to recycling and the loss of revenue that comes with those changes as it moves to producer responsibility. For water wastewater, we have contractual increases above CPI. In administration, there are no significant changes. And I'm sure there will be questions. Hit me with it. I can take it.
Okay, thank you.
Real fast.
Questions, Councilor Warren? Turn your mic off there.
Yeah, let you go first. Thank you through you, and thank you on your first time at this. This is great. So I'm just looking. So is there funding for the transit plan going forward into 2026? Is there actually something in either operating or capital budget to actually roll out the transit plan?
Are you talking about the rural transit,
Yes.
the micro transit?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Through the chair to the councillor, thanks for the question. So currently, there is no budget in 2026 for the rural or microtransit. Our first option or first hope was to bring forward a finalized report to council with the master plan and a detailed multi-year phasing. We did task our consultant with a high-level estimate to start the process, and it came back at a significant financial commitment. And at that point, we weren't comfortable moving it forward because, again, there's a lot of unknown variables and there's a lot of pressures this year. So what our hope was to bring is, or what our plan is to bring forward the 10-year master plan, which will outlay a 10-year funding model, which will support the implementation and phasing of that. So in 2026, there isn't a plan to bring forward microtransit or rural transit, but there will become, in council, we will bring forward probably in Q2 of 2026, a completed transit master plan with a multi-phase, multi-year approach that should be sustainable. The challenge or the concern we had is if we brought something forward that wasn't supported by multi-years, it could fall short and not be successful and not sustainable. So we thought a better approach to bring a completed plan.
Thank you. And so, are we reducing sidewalk salt? Because I noticed that I think it's less expensive.
Are we reducing sidewalk which? The
Salt. It looked like you did. Anyway, that's okay. I won't put you on the
No,
spot.
no, no. I mean, no, we haven't proposed any service level changes in sidewalks.
Okay, it just looked like you're using less. That's all. It's just a question.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we have changed the distribution, like the machines that
Yeah.
distribute the salt on sidewalks so that they're more efficient.
Just so I can
Yeah.
tell people. That's great. What else? Transit plan. That's it for right now.
Any other questions? Councillor Joyce.
We're all fighting to go second here. Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair, I got a few questions here. I try not to get too micro here, but this one really did jump out at me. And I understand in winter control, we can't control the winters, but winter patrol has really jumped up in the budget. Can you just comment on that? Because I thought patrolling the roads would be kind of a constant, or am I wrong? I've never been in that position.
Well, I would imagine that, Chris, you gonna?
Through the chair to the councillor, a lot of that is just properly allocating the winter patrollers' salaries to their respective, to that budget line. Prior to it may have been based on just splitting everything amongst the activities, whereas we've actually been trying to centralize their appropriate budget within that line. The other factor to that would just be overtime. So if we have a patroller absent, sick, or anything like that, we do utilize the overtime opportunity lists to fill that shift, which just it comes at a premium to ensure coverage.
Okay, thanks very much. I may have missed this. You may have already answered it, but the solid waste revenue drop, is that due to the blue box loss of revenue, or where's that generally coming from, that loss of that drop?
We lost Heather will correct me if I'm wrong, but with the changes with recycling collection, we didn't receive as much grant funding as we did before, correct? There you go.
That's correct.
Thank you. Two more questions. One is more directed, I think, to CAO Taylor on waste and water. Where is that page? It's the 4% increase in tax. Is that pretty much, I know costs are going up, but I guess that 4% on waste and the waste, I can't speak.
Water, wastewater.
Thank you. Water and wastewater. Is that pretty much baked in now for 2026, a 4% increase in the tax for water and wastewater?
User rate.
The user rate, yeah.
So through the chair, that's just a single line item for tax revenues related to, or revenues coming in to support the program from tax support. It's actually an entirely independent user rate. You will get that full budget in its entirety next week, and we'll walk through it. But there is a very minor component of that program that's tax supported that's reflecting that.
Of course, that's the overall revenue, not the actual rate. Thank you. Not thinking straight. Last question I have is increase in staffing levels. You didn't touch upon that. Are you asking for more staff? And if you are, if you can just expand on who you want to hire, or not who, but positions and why.
All right. I can speak to the roads positions that were requested for next year. Those ones are related to the growth of the town of Lindsay specifically, in that the town of Lindsay has had a static amount of equipment operators and plow trucks since amalgamation. So what's happening with those two positions is that they are being requested because the amount of kilometers of road added to the town of Lindsay since amalgamation has now resulted in us starting to struggle to meet levels of service when we have significant weather events. So this is to catch up to that so we can reorganize our plow routes and make them so that we can get the work done in an appropriate amount of time. Rod, can you speak to the ones that you have going in fleet?
Through the chair to the councillor, thanks for the question. So with us in fleet, we have internalized upwards of 5 positions, hence the reason for our charge out rate reduction as well. So in doing so, we believe that when we internalize these, we're going to be able to do it at a cost savings for the municipality. So we've added some additional technicians as well as some support staff around them. So we feel that we can internalize a number of projects, heavy truck repair, bus repair, and some heavy equipment repair. So this will be kind of the first year for that. So after this year, we'll have a good basis to look at our budget going forward and our charge out rates. So hence the reduction in charge out rates and revenues. But again, the increase was related to staff and in addition to some staff members.
Right.
Okay, thank you for that. But
hang on, Dave. Behind you.
Oh, I believe the waste budget also includes requests for an additional crew lead to support waste management services. So currently have 1 crew lead for the 20+ staff that run the landfills, and we're hoping to have an additional support for that service.
you were not getting by before, you need the additional help. Okay.
That's correct.
Yes, the answer is yes, okay. Silly question on my part, sorry. So back to fleet, so you want 5 people, you're going to save the city money, but under contracted services, in the budget here, we're not saving a lot. So I'm not seeing how this translates.
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. Great question. Yes, it looks as though the contract has gone up, contracted resources have gone up, but in theory, typically we raise that cost anywhere, typically around 15 to 20%. So this year what we did is we actually raised that number, but then reduced it. So we raised it and then actually subtracted all those wages and all the believed savings that we're going to have and reduced that overall number. So that number would have been larger without the addition of staff and or internal resources. It would have been probably another 10 to 15% larger.
You're good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. That was my one main question, was actually how many staff are we looking at the department increasing? So I appreciate the feedback on that. When we're buying out our materials for, for example, roads, and, the cost of doing business has definitely grown significantly in the last few years. Are you seeing a plateau out there with those purchases, or are you seeing that yearly increase above CPI?
What we're seeing is volatility, in the sense that what we see in costs, we're having difficulty predicting, just simply because we're so closely tied to a lot of procurement across the border, or that what we are procuring is indirectly tied to procurement across the border, that the amount of, that the price security becomes very difficult to maintain. Where we can lock contracts down, But even that type of an endeavor comes with its own kind of risk, because people aren't going to lock into a price where they know they're going to lose money long term. So they'll give us secure pricing, but it may wind up costing us more depending upon how long the contract lasts for. So to answer your question is yes, a lot of the time we see above CPI increases, but sometimes we don't. So we don't have any kind of cost surety, and that makes it difficult to predict.
And you know what, I appreciate that. It's a very honest answer. And I think, I think in every aspect of doing business anymore, we have that volatility out in our environment, and it's hard to do forecasting based on that. I do have one quirky question to ask. Snow fence. I didn't even know we still did snow fence, so I have to ask about that.
What would you like to know?
Where are we putting it?
Our problem, I can't answer that question, because we have quite a bit of difficulty with getting landowner support, because we have to put it on private property, and a lot of people don't want us there, or if they do want us there, they tell us in no uncertain terms when and how, and sometimes that's not going to work for the municipality, or they want us to pay them for it, and that's also not something we're going to do. And so it's something that we're continuing to explore, because it can help significantly with drifting. It's just being able to find the correct locations and the correct buy-in from the public.
Great, thank you. And I just have one transit question as well. With the implementation of the Route Orange last year, how do you measure the success of that new route for the city?
Through the chair to the councillor, thanks for the question. We look at a few things. We look at revenues and we look at ridership. And we also speak to our frontline staff. So our best resource, honestly, is our drivers. And we are anticipating that being a slow uptake with that route, but it turned out to be our most successful route so far. The population and the demographic in that area has supported that transit route significantly, and it's been a huge success for us.
Thank you. Yeah, honestly, I kind of noticed that myself, just being, scooting around the city, and I can see the uptake of it. So I just wanted to hear from your perspective. So thank you. I think that's it for right now.
Here we go again, Councilor Warren.
Sorry, through you. I guess this is for Rod. The contracting costs have gone up. Is that because we're contracting out to move the fleet around? Is that one of the reasons? I was just wondering, who moves the fleet?
Yeah, through you, Chair, to the councillor. Great question. So that's one thing that we internalized in 2025 and 2025 budget, and then in season in 2025, we actually brought internal resources in to do shunt moves. So that's actually reduced some of our contracted resources, because now instead of using tow companies to drive trucks or tow our sidewalk machines or passenger vehicles, now we've internalized and bought the equipment to do that. So the contracted cost increase is just simply that the hourly rate at all of our vendors has, again, as our costs go up, their costs go up. They supply parts to us, so as they put on a part on a vehicle or on a bus, they have a markup. So all those things have increased over time. Just as for them to retain staff, they're paying a premium, as we are. So and they can react to the market quicker than we can with wages and such. So they are doing so to retain their talent and then we experience that increase from them.
That's fine. I just wanted to know who's moving who.
Yeah. No, our shunt drivers are making the moves, and they're doing a great job.
And I just wondered, somebody could give us a bit more information on the possibly really good story about Metrolinx and where you are. You said you were talking about getting transit out of the city to go or whatever. So you just kind of touched on that. I wonder if you could, I don't know, you're in the negotiation, so I'm just wondering where we're at with that. You said something about where they were.
Exactly sure how much we can talk about.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor. A little background. So the Mr. Taylor and the mayor have been in conversations with the province over time, negotiating a connecting link. Those negotiations, I'll maybe refer it to Ron to give more description on that. But from a staff standpoint, we are looking at multiple locations where a Go Hub or a Go parking lot would make sense. We're looking at design. So again, some survey work has been done. Some designs have been completed. Some mapping has been done internally with our transit service to see where it would make sense centrally to locate a facility. And we've had some conversations with some partners to negotiate potential land costs and try to compile all that information. So if the opportunity presents itself with the province, that we'd be ready to go for a Go Connecting Link. I'll turn it over to CIO Taylor.
Thanks, Chair. Through you, I honestly don't have much to add at this point other than strong advocacy with both MTO and then by extension through to Metrolinx. Staff are preparing and readying for a possible decision, and to Rod's point, it's really the landing place. And we think we have a good partnership and relationship with Fleming. And that's what we're working through right now to see if there's some mutual, not only from a land perspective, but student use, as well as integrating nicely into our local transit system. So I have to unfortunately say stay tuned on that one. We're a little bit at the mercy of their planning cycles as well, but there is ongoing advocacy.
Any other questions? I got a question here. I'm just looking at the snow removal. The budget was over $500,000, and obviously it was over $1 million. And you're also budgeting for $500,000 next year. Where did that $500,000 come from to pay the $1 million bill? Did that come out of reserves?
That's where it has to come from.
Came from reserves. Okay, thank you for that. And I didn't see anywhere, are you purchasing any new equipment this year? And if so, what are you purchasing or asking to purchase?
Purchasing new equipment for which?
Roads, vehicles, whatever. Is there any purchase there for that capital?
Well, like for the new staff, you mean?
No, that's okay. That's all capital.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware of that? So.
Well, no, the request for the staff in Lindsay, for the increase in staff in Lindsay, comes with a request for increase in the equipment to let them perform their job.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay. Any other questions? I see none. So could I have a motion to receive the Public Works budget presentation? Councillor Joyce, second by Councillor Warren. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for today, for taking the time to present your budget. Thank you, and we'll take another break for the next group to come, so we'll take 10 minutes. Thanks. Thank you very much. I'd like to call the meeting back to order, and we'll jump into section 4.4, Lindsay Downtown BIA, Melissa McFarland and Wes Found. Go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having us here today. Always a pleasure to come. We always treat today as a presentation of our upcoming budget and a bit of an annual report as well. So always happy to have the opportunity to be in front of council to do that. So thank you very much. I'm Melissa McFarland, Executive Director for the Lindsay Downtown BIA, joined by Wes Found, who is our board chair. And we'll just get right into it. I think everybody's familiar with us by now, but we always have our bit of a mission statement. So committed to promoting and supporting the downtown area as a premier destination for businesses and consumers through strategic marketing, beautification projects, advocacy efforts, and community engagement. We aim to create an environment where businesses can flourish and the community can thrive. We always like to do a little look back at the year since we've stood here since last year, and then what we have coming up. So when we were here this time last year, we were just talking about the implementation of our downtown-wide CCTV system. It was being installed the first week of September of last year. So when we came and did our presentation this time last year, we weren't fully utilizing it yet. We were still ironing out the kinks and getting the technology working. And in the year since, it's been a really, really great addition to our downtown. We put a pretty stringent policy in place about who can access the footage that comes through and when and how. So that footage is sort of kept very strictly within our office, and we only take requests via the police service. So any public requests that come, we always inform them that they have to go through the police. And if the police, want to file a report and then contact us for the footage, they're able to do that. But using that method has been really successful, and there has been dozens of investigations and requests that we've had through Kawartha Lakes Police that we have been able to assist and provide footage for. So there's been a few little kinks along the way, always is when there is technology. The March ice storm didn't help, but we got everything up and running. Our supplier out of Peterborough, Paulson Security, has been wonderful at this, and it's one of the bigger projects that they have done as well, and city staff as well. So still looking to get a couple of cameras in place where we didn't have the opportunity to use the hydro coming from the traffic lights. But those are all things that we're working towards and hoping for some opportunities in the future for some additional grants that come through the province, which is how we got the original grant, to be able to do it on some of the side streets as well, because currently we only have them on Kent Street, and I think the usage of the system is proving valuable, and an expansion would make sense in the future. So we'll pay attention for those provincial grants that come through the police services, and hopefully there's an opportunity to expand that. When we went to the Ontario BIA conference back in March, actually the weekend of the ice storm, we had put in for one of their awards at their annual award ceremony. We actually received an award of merit for our system, which there are CCTV projects that exist in other downtowns in the community, but this is one of the biggest. So they were able to recognize that, which we were really proud of. Launching this past summer was the first edition of our first print magazine that we used as one of our bigger marketing projects for the year. Wes is doing a little Vanna White there. So we call it Pulse. That was the first edition for spring and summer. It launched like the first week of July. We had that out. Very well received, exclusively downtown content. We engaged a lot of our membership to actually write the articles and provide a lot of the content. All of the ads are downtown businesses. That allowed us to subsidize about 50% of the cost of printing and distributing the magazine. And then we kicked in the other half from our regular budget. And it was received really, really well from the public. A lot of the businesses that were featured said they got direct business, having been seen in the magazine, to the point that we decided to launch a second. So that's actually going to print by the end of this week, hopefully, is our deadline for fall and winter. And then we're also producing a holiday gift guide as well, a smaller version for Christmas time. So we're going to reevaluate at the end of the year, and if we think this is a project that can keep going forward, we think twice a year would be a really good target. Really targeting distribution to Lindsay residents especially, but really trying to get into those new subdivisions. So they were direct delivered door to door along with the Kawartha Lakes this week to all the K9V postal codes. And if we can, expand that into the future, but we really know that there's a lot of residents, new residents to Lindsay that don't necessarily know what the downtown has to offer, and that's really who we're trying to get this in the hands of. So really good project, and we consider that a success story and hope to keep that going. And then the holiday kickoff and passport always is a huge thing for us in November and December. So we do the annual tree lighting ceremony, which we do right in front of 180 Kent at our town hall building for the last few years. And that's been really well received. It had record attendance last year. So we're looking to this year and to the future to how we can keep expanding that event. It seems to be really well liked by our community, as well as our holiday passport, which is probably our favorite initiative of all the things that we do year to year, which we launched that evening, and it goes right up and through till Christmas, giving away $4,000 over those few weeks of downtown gift certificates to the winners. And it's hard to gauge the exact metrics of it, but the purpose of it is to have people get into as many businesses downtown as possible, so they get a stamp for every purchase, no matter how small, that they make in the downtown, and 8 stamps from different businesses gets them in. And we figure that that's causing at least 8,000 purchases made in the downtown in those 5 weeks. So one of the best things that we do, we think, as far as creating some economic spin-off and some revenue in our downtown. So really proud of that. Looking ahead for 2026, so a few things that are sort of happening currently and will be moving into the new year. Strategic planning. So our board of directors and our committees have been undergoing a strategic planning process throughout the summer. So those sessions are complete. We did one for our board for board governance and membership engagement, and then for our committees for marketing, beautification, and parking as well. So we hired a strategic planner who has a lot of specific BIA experience. She was in the executive director role for 20 years and now does consulting. So she is completed those sessions with us and is currently preparing the report. And our goal is to present that action plan and that report to our membership at our annual general meeting in November, and then looking into 2026 as ways to implement a lot of the strategies and the actions that are coming out of that. Last year as well, we talked about a little bit about a boundary expansion, and then our goal is still to do a small boundary expansion. We went back and forth with how we're going to expand, came up with the best idea of sort of keeping our downtown small and usable, and just making our boundaries make sense, because in a lot of ways they don't for the properties that are included. So we've engaged with your economic development department and your clerk's office, who've been able to provide us a lot of resources and all of the steps. So we're being really diligent as far as gathering data about all of our properties that exist and all of the properties that we're looking to add, and working through that process. So a jump-in page has been created for us, and we're looking at putting a lot of that data on that site. And then when it's ready, we'll start engaging both our current membership and the proposed new membership for their input as we move through that process. Looking right now at a website redesign. So we are a few years out from our current website, looking at how we can make it better. So we actually just awarded that contract this morning, actually. So we'll be using the rest of this year for a new website. I know the city just did the same project as well. So you understand the importance of having that information for your visitors and for your taxpayers as well. So we're looking to do the same thing, and that should be live by the end of the year. And then historical street banners, that was a project that was on our docket for this year. The year kind of got away from us, so we kept it going, and we'll do that one for sure next year. Looking at our new poles and our new reconstructed downtown, and looking at these really beautiful aesthetic street banners for those poles, featuring historical photos and content from Lindsay and the surrounding area. So we presented that to the Heritage Committee earlier in the year to great endorsement, and a couple of your departments have been really, really helpful as we're starting to gather all of the data. There's a lot more than we anticipated as far as being able to choose the photos that would be featured, because we'll have about 80 different banners downtown. So we're really looking forward to that project. So those should be up for spring of 2026. So going into our budget for 2026, nothing is wildly different than last year, so we'll just do sort of a quick review. So our total proposed operating budget, without anything that we don't know yet, but as it stands for just over $420,000, and you'll see the way that we break down our departments and how we operate. So we have administration, beautification, marketing, and our parking budget. So we'll go into those in just a little bit more detail. So looking at our revenue and income, so I think everybody is familiar, but in case you are not, so our main source of funding is our property tax levy. So those properties that are within the geographic boundary that it currently stands in our downtown have an extra levy on those, and those are funneled through your corporate services department to us on an annual basis. So that becomes the bulk of our funding each year. We're looking for a 7.25% increase above 2025. We like to break it down as a cost to those property owners because sometimes those numbers are just a little confusing to look at the beginning. So we always look at the 100K assessed value, which is how they are taxed when it comes to that levy. So when we look at 100K assessed value of each individual property, we would be looking at $506 per 100K for this year, which would just be up from $471 per 100K, which is what it is currently. And then other places that we find funding that we're more or less guaranteed, although we do, of course, look for funding opportunities throughout the year. Our HST return, which also comes from corporate services, always projected based on the expenditures that we had in 2025. As of the current year that we're in, we started using that funding. It used to go back to basically the committee that spent it. So if it was a marketing expense, the HST went back to the marketing committee. We decided in the current year that we're in to start using that funding as what we're calling an opportunity fund. So we never really had a reserve or a special projects fund in the past. And we decided to take that HST because we never knew exactly how much it was going to be, which made it difficult to budget, and use that for that purpose. So we now have a little bit of a slush fund, special projects, the website that we're doing currently, that's coming from the opportunity fund currently. Any sort of, expenses that we weren't anticipating that may pop up, that would be a great place to use it. So that's where that funding will go. Every year we do apply to your community services department for the Community Partnership and Development Fund, and that goes to our beautification program. Currently this year, $65,000, that's what we'll apply for this October, and we're not looking for an increase from them this year. Our parking control subsidy, that is a reimbursement program that we apply for quarterly based on the wages that we use for our parking control, and we apply for that based on the wages that we paid out for parking to your bylaw department. So anything that we spend for wages, we apply, they reimburse. So again, $60,000 is what we're receiving currently. That is what we have applied back to Mr. Sloan's budget, and that is no increase from last year as well. Event sponsorships, we look, especially if it's a downtown business, some of them like to be a little more involved with us financially if they don't want to be involved with us to be volunteering on a committee or on our board, and they're happy to give us a little bit of money to have a little extra advertising at some of the events downtown. That's been working really well for us the last couple of years. So we put a $5,000 target to bring in for sponsorships to offset the cost of some of our marketing and our events downtown. And then our associate membership fees. So we've had associate memberships for the last few years, but they've become a lot more important while we work through our boundary expansion project, because we look to those proposed properties to do the boundary expansion, but the businesses from those properties often want to join us, even on a limited basis. They feel that they are a downtown business, even if they don't fall within our actual geographic boundary. So we do offer them associate memberships. So that project, we currently have 13 of them currently. So that's more than we've ever had, which is what's giving us a lot of the basis for why we think a boundary expansion would be really successful. So we believe that coming into 2026, we'll still be able to do those associate memberships while we get that boundary expansion finalized. And then likely that program would cease after that. Breaking down budget by budget, so administration is always just sort of that little bit of that highest budget there. So looking at occupancy, which includes the lease for our office at 7 York Street South, things like the phone and the hydro and all of those things. It's just a modest increase from last year, just based on cost of increases in general for the utilities and things like that. General operational expenses, subscriptions and memberships, and then payroll for that. And then of course the income sources, majority comes from the property tax levy, and then the opportunity fund will sit under the umbrella of the administration budget as well. Our beautification budget, again, always sort of our next most expensive, but we do hope to get that community partnership grant from Community Services, which is always, again, about 50-50. Beautification continues to, see increased costs, but we have had a lot of support from your Parks Department, which has been really great at sort of trying to keep some of our costs down, especially with things like purchase sharing, as we get into more of the areas that have been required to be beautified since construction. So things like the hanging baskets, there's more poles, the flower beds downtown that weren't there before. So all of those have been increased costs, but we have seen a lot of support from Parks, which has been really wonderful for us. So fairly modest increase for beautification as well. Again, it's more just general costs of increase more than anything that we do. In our marketing budget, again, it's pretty standard, and I think they have the lowest of all of the increases, but we do things like the activations and events that we look at downtown, advertising and promotions, which includes the magazine that we talked about, payroll for our full-time marketing coordinator, and then any event sponsorships and anything that comes through as far as that advertising revenue. We do have sales for gift certificates for downtown, although it's mostly a reimbursement, but all of that revenue goes into them as well for us to reimburse for those gift certificates that come through. And then parking. This is a little bit different from the last year. It does see the largest increase, and the reason for a lot of the 7% increase that we're asking for. Parking last year and in the years prior, the subsidy that we received from the bylaw department essentially covered the payroll of our parking control officers. Because we're not asking for an increase, there now will be some of our budget for our levy that does come out for that parking control from our own budget this year, which is understandable and reasonable. We are looking at a bit of a transition from our current community liaison was the title that we were given at the beginning when we started doing the parking control from our organization. The gentleman that has been in that role since its inception in 2018 is looking towards retirement, so we do anticipate some increased costs as he is sort of exiting his role. He's the only one who's ever had it, and looking at training somebody new and looking at ensuring that we still have adequate coverage for parking enforcement in our downtown at the same time. So there may be increased costs, but we haven't asked for any increase from bylaw, so the increase comes out of the general property tax levy, which is the reason for most of the increase. So just a quick summary of requests. So to corporate services, we have asked for the $267,488, just as that flow through from the property taxes that would be added to the properties in our downtown, flowed through to us. We will be applying for the end of October for the CPDF for our beautification program for $65,000, and we have already requested the $60,000 to the municipal law enforcement in their budget for the subsidy for parking control. Just again, as a reimbursement, as we pay out wages, we request it back from them to a maximum of $60,000. That is the end of the basic presentation. So thank you very much. And if there is any questions, Mr. Chair, we will take those through you if anyone has any. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Sure.
Councillor Richardson.
Maybe more of a comment. Thank you very much for the presentation today. You've certainly covered all the bases. Also want to give you a shout out because when I did see that Pulse magazine, I go, who did this? And I mean, I was in communications for 31 years and you guys did a phenomenal job for your first product. So congratulations on that. Is that a revenue generator for you?
It's not a revenue generator, but it's a modest amount. About 50% of the costs are covered by revenue for it. The other 50% comes out of our marketing budget. But yeah, a lot of the kudos directly by staff or workhorses. Melissa kind of oversees it, but the bulk of the work is done by our new marketing coordinator who's been full-time for about a year now. And she just did a wonderful job, and I have nothing but good things to say about both of them for it. It was probably one of the most exciting initiatives I've been a part of for the downtown as far as promotion goes.
Absolutely, like a great promotion and well done. When you're looking at that 7.25%, overall. So what is that exactly for dollars and cents when we're looking at it? Increase?
It's about 30,000 increase to 40,000, I forgot. It's, it's at the bottom.
And I just missed it, sorry.
249, 50, 17.
17,000. Yeah, and like Melissa said, it's mostly coming out of the parking budget because we do parking for cheaper than what any municipality could, parking enforcement. And the reality of it is that we have an outgoing person who's managed a tight ship, and the cost of training someone new and the overlap between the two people is going to result in increased costs. It's a transient cost, which means it's not expected to keep on going. And given the budget constraints in the municipality as a whole, we did not feel it would be right to ask for the increase for a transient year.
Thank you, and that really fleshes out that dollar and cent at the end, so I appreciate that answer.
Councillor Warren.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. I was just, I was at an event in Bob Cajun at the Legion yesterday, and they have a really interesting banner project that they put out for all the local veterans. So I was just wondering if you, or if the Legion has done that also in Lindsay. It's a great idea.
Yeah, we have the veterans banners. They've been up for, I want to say, probably 7 or 8 years through the Legion. I think they're looking for an update. I don't know, because I know the ones that were done initially by the Legion, it's the same people. So I'm sure there's other people in our community that would love to have their, their people up there as well. So I don't know if the Legion is looking to update what was put up originally, but that same set of original banners has been up for 7 or 8 years. But when we were doing our reconstruction, we didn't have poles for that one November, and we actually took all of those banners and had them in the store windows instead that year, and they were really well received. So I mentioned to the Legion, I think it was last year, if they're ever looking to expand their program, I can find places for banners to go, even if it's not on poles, because people really love them.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I just wanted to echo Councillor Richardson's comments on Pulse. I have a publishing background, a little bit too, not to the extent that Councillor Richardson has, just a small piece in comparison, but I was truly impressed. That landed on my doorstep. I go, wow. And you went to a BIA conference.
We do.
I didn't know things like that. I know there's lots of conferences out there, but I didn't know you had a conference for BIAs too. That's
we do, through you, Mr. Chair. So the Ontario BIA Association, they're based out of just west of Toronto, and they represent, I think there's about 300 BIAs in the province. They don't all have to be a member, but the ones who are, they're really good about furthering education and professional development. They do an annual conference, and it's really, really valuable for all of us to compare. We do weekly calls for, they call them the What Matters, so people can get on and discuss the things that they want to discuss BIA to BIA, and it's really great.
It's great. I don't really have any questions. It was a very succinct budget and presentation. Thank you.
I have a couple comments, actually, kind of close to me. A couple of comments I want to make is one, that you're the only BIA that has parking control. You want to expand on that a little bit?
That's actually a lot thanks to you, Chairperson. But it was back in 2011, I believe it was, in 2015, where they were taking out the meters, and largely they were not monitored or enforced. And so we decided to take it on because the downtown was meant to incentivize people to come downtown and shop, and costs of parking and non-enforcement of parking resulting in limited supply created a problem that we did not want to be a barrier. And so the BIA went to council and asked for a pilot program to enforce it ourselves, and it was successful enough that it remains to this day. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Or?
No, I was also just going to say, you mentioned about the Ontario BIA conference. It makes me very popular at the BIA conference because there's a lot of other downtowns that would like to use a similar model for the parking. And, we still have our parking committee. That's, we have a whole budget for it. We have a committee for it. It still meets monthly. And you might wonder why, it would be necessary for us to still talk about parking month after month. We still do need to, always. And it's, the system is never absolutely perfect. I don't think we'll ever find a place where we say, this is it, we've nailed it. But we're always still talking about it. We're always still trying to find solutions, both to parking inventory and timings and ticketings and all of those things. But at least we are sort of holding, the stick on that one. So we get to have a big part of it, which we really appreciate.
Thank you. Any other questions, sir? Okay, thank you today. So could I have a motion to receive the Lindsay Downtown BIA report? Councillor Warren, second by Councillor Richardson. All in favor? Thank you very much for coming today, taking the time and do your presentation. Thank you. That brings us to the end, and I'll have a motion to adjourn. Councillor Joyce, Councillor Richardson, all in favor? Thank you.